Hi Aquarius, what's going on? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. All right, first card that we have out is Three of Swords. I'm also seeing Seven of Swords here. Let's see what else we have going on. I'm seeing Three of Wands. All right, you can feel like something that you had set up or been trying to set up, because I'm looking at Three of Wands over here. Three of Wands is like things that have to do with where you were trying to go or what was being planned, or it can be about like future stuff, even like my idea of how things were going to be. I'm seeing Three of Swords, so you can feel like something happened where you feel hurt about something. Three of Swords can be a recognition of like, wow, I feel hurt by that. I'm experiencing pain right now. I'm like suffering in some type of way. But it does feel the positives about this, if we're looking at like what's beneficial about this, what's positive about this, what's forward moving about this, what's like growth mentality about this. It's that instead of being like, no, that didn't bother me, or I don't care, there's a recognition here of like, no, I actually do feel like that pierced my heart in some way. So important, even though it's not pleasant to be in this position, it feels important because there's a recognition of like, yes, I do feel impacted by that. Yes, I do feel I've been affected by that type of thing. To have Seven of Swords, this can be because of something that like you did where you're like, I don't really feel like that aligns with my values and I'm recognizing this. Or it can be something that somebody did that's around you, and it can also be the same thing. I'm recognizing that that doesn't align with my values. That's not aligned with what I want. That's not like the type of friend that I want or partner, like whatever this is. And you could feel like this is something that impacts where you saw yourself going, to have the Three of Wands here. And you can feel like now it's just me trying to do something over here. Let's see. Can we clarify what this Three of Swords was? Three of Swords can feel like there are a couple different things coming through for this. Depending on when this happened, for those of you that this is something that just happened that you feel hurt by, you could feel like there was something deliberate about this. But when Seven of Swords comes up, it can feel too like, if you perceive this as being somebody around you that betrayed you in some way or that deceived you in some way, there's another side to this, and that other side of this was I ignoring things? Was I picking up on something? Was I ignoring my gut? Was there something that would have indicated that like this was the direction of things, or this was going to go this way? I feel like at first you could have felt like something was coming out of nowhere. However, if you look back at it, there may be like a trail that you can find that sort of led things this way. So this could have been something that was happening where you were like, now in retrospect, I'm seeing that the signs were there. That doesn't make this hurt any less. This doesn't mean anything about like your character or anything like that. It's just a moment that's going to reinforce the connection that you have with yourself and also your intuition. And for those of you that you feel like the Seven of Swords is your own energy, which it can always feel like the other person's and also yours too, because you could feel like this is me like self-sabotaging or like working with my shadow in a way where now I'm learning how to trust myself, and I wasn't trusting myself before. I was listening to something or believing in something because I wanted that to be the truth, when in my gut I already knew what the truth was. It can be like that type of thing. And this is also can be about like the lies that we tell ourselves. And if the Seven of Swords was you, and you feel like you did something here where you're like, oh, I don't like the way that feels, or like now I hurt this person, or whatever, and now what am I gonna do when I have to make up for it? Whatever this is that was going on here, it's giving you the opportunity to recognize that is the opposite of what feels like it's in alignment with me and in alignment with my values. And so I'm taking this opportunity to learn from this, that how I acted within this situation, if I go the opposite way, that's going to be aligned with my values for myself. So I'm just seeing this as being like a redirection. There's a course correction that's happening here. And this was something that at this point you could have felt like this was inevitable to happen. Again, doesn't make it hurt any less. This is something that feels painful, especially for those of you that feel like you were betrayed in some way, or that you weren't considered in some way, or that Seven of Swords usually has to do with deception, so it can feel like something was on purpose, or like somebody was like one-upping you in some type of way. I want to just clarify the Seven of Swords just to get more context. I'm seeing the Death card, so it can feel like this really changes something in a big way for you. But the Death card can also be like, that's over and done with, and that can feel somewhat sudden. It can feel abrupt. Okay, let's keep moving. You don't have all the pieces yet. Meaning, you can only see so much of this. I'm seeing there also be more to the story with the Hanged Man. Okay. Whatever this was that you were sort of like on that path, thinking that that was where you were going to be going, you could have felt like it got to a point where this Three of Wands, and I've been like using this deck for the last couple days, this Three of Wands in particular, it's about like the progress that you make, especially the progress that you make with like you and yourself and where you're going. So as much as Seven of Swords can allude to like another person being involved in this, you can also feel like in retrospect, when you look back at this, and you may not necessarily feel like this now, this can be like later down the line, you're gonna look at this and feel like it was important with your sense of direction and where you're going. Meaning if something had continued, you could look at this and it would have delayed you going somewhere that you needed to go. So I'm actually seeing this as helping you get on track here, but it may not feel like that now. Because you're like, how can this thing that I'm perceiving as being like bad or negative in some type of way be actually helpful for me? But I'm seeing it definitely be beneficial as far as the direction and speed and progress that you're making. And feeling like something, like there's barely any effort and something is moving very quickly and making a lot of progress, versus before when it could have been you straining and using like all of your effort and still feeling like something almost wasn't working. Because it seems like something like that was going on, but then after the fact of you gaining all that you need to understand about this situation, I'm seeing on the other side of that the Eight of Wands. So this is things getting moving in a way where they had not been moving before, where it's like almost feels too easy the way that this ends up working, and is going to feel very opposite to what was going on before. I think too that you're starting to admit something to yourself as well here with Three of Swords and Seven of Swords. And this could have been something that like you didn't want to see, or something that you didn't want to admit to. That like something was bound to change, or like it was time for something to sort of like die to the next cycle that it was meant to be moving into. Okay. Three of Swords and Two of Swords. Two of Swords is like I'm really trying to see this for what it is, and it can also mean too that like decisions need to be made or things need to move forward. But because you have Three of Swords here, you can be like, I don't feel like I can address anything moving forward because I'm dealing with this really big thing here right now. So I'm still like comprehending and processing what's going on, and I know that Two of Swords can be like, I know that I need to take action here, or I know that I need to do something, or I know that I need to decide something. However, I'm feeling like I'm still dealing with this whole other thing, and so it's feeling difficult for me to sort of move forward with this. To have Seven of Swords here and to have Four of Cups here, you can feel like really discouraged right now. Like, Seven of Swords is this thing where we feel like we've been duped in some type of way. It can feel like forces are even like working against you. Like, that can really be the vibe. It can be like a lack of support, like a lack of understanding, a lack of awareness that one is feeling. And then Four of Cups is like, I don't feel good about that happening. It's like when somebody like lies to you and you catch them, and then you feel, or like you find out that they lied to you, and you feel like really like, what's even the point? You know, there's sort of this like wallowing energy of like, I'm catching up to this energetically, and I'm feeling kind of like beaten down by that. This can be like, I'm feeling disappointed. Like, there can be this recognition of like, that wasn't resonating with me. All of these things that are sort of being realized. This does feel like a big moment. And it can be difficult too, because it can be you're like working on something and working on something and working on something, and then you feel like there's this force that's sort of working against you, and then being like, what's even the point of all of this? Like, why am I even making this effort? And feeling that type of energy where you kind of just sit down and you're like, this is going to be a moment of surrender, but you're sort of getting to that point of like getting ready for it. Like, I'm seeing you start to sit down and be like rethinking things a little bit here. Because you may even be recognizing like how I was doing things before, how I was trying to do things before. Clearly that wasn't working. Like, it really feels like there's going to be some type of a really powerful energy within yourself that you're going to harness through this process. However, you could feel like you've been out of touch with that, and like there's been something else that's been more powerfully moving through this situation. However, when you're moving into a space where you're really tuned in and listening to yourself, because with Seven of Swords, like, the signs are always there. It's just about tuning into them, being willing to tune into them. This is something that it's going to like reinforce a really valuable skill set for you. But right now you could just feel like you got the wind knocked out of you a little bit. But you do see the truth, and you do see things clearly is what I'm seeing. So that's a really important aspect of this. It feels like you're seeing the future clearly too, when maybe this was something that wasn't. Having Three of Wands and having Ace of Swords, this is like, I know where things are going. I'm very aware of this now. And you worked hard to get to this point of being able to see the truth. But it may not have been. I feel strongly like there could have been something that you didn't want to admit, because that would have meant you would have been, it's like basically whatever it was that you were denying is like how you're feeling now anyway. But you could have been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, because like Three of Swords is like, I didn't want it to be that way. I wanted it to be different. I had hoped for this instead, when meanwhile it was like the proof was right there in your face. As far as like how this situation was unfolding, and you could have been like wanting it to go a certain way, wanting it to be different, but now it feels like there is a recognition here. Some of you too could have been putting something off, and you could be aware of that as well. And when I say putting off, it could have been putting off like seeing something, putting off admitting something, putting off recognizing something. However, it feels like this situation has forced you into, like, forced your eyes open. Like, you can't not look at this. But it could have felt like a really, harsh moment. Something along the lines of that. Of this can't be denied. Some of you even could have felt like this was like the opposite of what you wanted. I'm seeing the Nine of Swords here. This energy has been so heavy. Like what I've been seeing within the readings today, there's a lot that's been coming up. Maybe yesterday too. I don't know if yesterday. I have a hard time remembering what exactly goes on in the readings after the fact. But what I know from the reading earlier today, it was about sort of coming to terms with something that was connected with the past. That was a reading for Cancer. For this one, the only major arcana that we have here is the Hanged Man, which is connected with Neptune. Neptune, archetypally speaking, is connected with illusions, disillusionment. It's about fantasy. It's about like spiritual things, but it can also be too about like wanting to believe a lie so much, like wanting to believe in something so much that then we start like ignoring signs and ignoring reality, because we can sort of like reinforce this illusion, and then something happens and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you, and then you're stuck just seeing things for what it is. And it can be a very like stark contrast in that moment from what you were thinking or believing was going on versus what was actually happening. And in that moment of really seeing the truth, it can be very, very painful. And this is so Neptunian. This is like classically a Neptune energy. And it feels like this can also be like a focus of the Neptune that you have within your chart. Like this can be a theme that subtly continues. However, this marks a moment where it's like, this was so terrible, I never want to have this experience again, and so I'm going to choose to learn from this, because I don't want to ever feel like I've been deceived like this again. And again, as much as you can look at the other person, if there was another person involved, and be like, it's your fault or whatever, the signs will always be there. Like nobody can lie to you or do anything deceptive without something within you going, hey, I saw that. But a lot of the times we can be like, be quiet, I don't want to hear it. Even in a less conscious type of way, we can sort of shut it down because we don't want it to be true. And so when you want a fantasy more than you want to see the truth, when Neptune's available, that's exactly what you're going to see. But if you're in a space where you're like, I want the truth above everything, this type of thing will not repeat itself. This is not something that will happen. And so this is a type of pain that you can save yourself from experiencing. Like you're in the middle of one of these very, very difficult circumstances that's propelled by the energy of Neptune, by the archetype of that. So this is also strengthening your discernment. It's strengthening your throat chakra, but it's through pain, which is a great teacher. However, it can, in many ways, feel like you're dying because, like, metaphorically, spiritually, in a way, that's exactly what's happening. And it seems like it needed to be severe enough. Seems like it needed to be severe enough that this is something that you're going to be like, no, I never want to go through this again. Like that type of thing. I'm seeing the Emperor on the bottom of the deck. So, Three of Swords connected with Four of Swords. Now is going to be a period of recovery. It's sort of like the recognition and the setting in of what has happened, and then also you see how this person is sort of like in a meditative state? It feels like this is about like getting your grounding again after going through this. It's like healing, it's recovering, it is quieting the mind, centering. And I'm also seeing too, like sort of in the midst of this process, you need to make a decision about where you're going. Two of Swords and Eight of Wands, and it seems like after you make that decision about what's happening here and where your life force is sort of taking you, what path, I'm seeing things are going to move very smoothly and very quickly. It's going to feel very opposite of this situation. Give yourself time. This is going to be a big adjustment, especially mentally, to like, this was my reality and now this is my reality. And so you're going to need some time to sort of adjust to the transition, like mentally. Especially if you were feeling very, very like set on one way, and now it's like, well, that's not happening anymore. This is what's happening. Give yourself time to sort of make that adjustment. I'm also seeing too with the Hanged Man and Nine of Swords, this can be something where you're like terrified of this situation in and of itself and also repeating, but only because you don't realize the mechanics of it, of like how something led to this. Know that whenever you are dealing with the Seven of Swords, especially when you perceive this as being somebody outside of yourself, tricking you in some way, lying to you in some way, deceiving you in some way, just know that nobody can ever lie to you, nobody can ever deceive you without you knowing. You know, but it can be a very quiet knowing, and if you are not willing to check in with that part of yourself, then that's how this sort of, it goes unchecked, and that's how it allows this to grow into a situation like this. So this is not something that will repeat itself. If you are tuning in and you're paying attention to your gut feelings and you're paying attention to your intuition, this will never ever repeat again for you, ever. So that is the beauty of this. But it may be something that now you feel like sort of traumatized from the experience with Nine of Swords. You can be like, I don't want this to happen again, or like I'm really still in disbelief of that. Like you could feel even like powerless within this. You could feel worried about this. You could feel anxious about this. You could also just still be coming to terms with it. So as I said before, give yourself time. There may be a part of you that's like, I don't even want to think about this at all. However, I'm seeing something really important this has been a really important piece as far as putting pieces together of where you're going, because I'm seeing your progress is being made clear, and also what's going to be happening, because there could have been some type of question about what was going to be happening in the future, and now I'm seeing that be clarified, and there's not a question about it anymore. So something is now figured out. Something is now very clear. Give yourself time to figure out what you want to do exactly about this, because there's still some things that are settling into place. You're going to need time to recover emotionally. When I say time, like for some of you, you can heal this in a minute. For some of you, you can heal this in an hour. For some of you, weeks. For some of you, years. Like whatever it is, it's not necessarily about the time. It's about like the progress energetically that's made processing this and integrating this. Things are definitely moving forward here. I'm seeing that this is also a piece, having the Emperor on the bottom of the deck, this is a piece that has to do with the life that you are building for yourself, and something that was not meant to be part of the materials that you were building with, because it did not fit. So even though there can be a part of you that's still getting over this part of I wanted it to be, that's what's happening here as far as this going on. So something that like It's like something that was a spoiled material that did not fit, that you weren't supposed to be building with. This situation kind of happened before it was like cemented into everything. Even though you can feel like it was sort of in some ways cemented in, it was before it got like any further that this all sort of came to light, so you can remove these pieces. And so when you build things higher up, if you got to this point and it happened later on and then you had to remove it, it would be a much bigger project than it is now. Again, doesn't make this any less painful, doesn't make this any less difficult. It's still going to feel sort of relative to your experience. So yeah, that's where we are with things. And keep in mind too, like those of you that are interested in like planetarily how things are working and what does what in your birth chart, this is connected with Neptune. You can be going through a transit right now where Neptune is transiting, probably one of your personal placements, I would say. For some of you, this can be your IC. That may be a specific message for someone. That this can be something that happened in your like deep personal life, home life even. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.